Yes, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman, Alfred.
I'm Batman.
I am Batman!
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
Greetings, Bat family. Welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Make sure you do visit our website, holybatcast.com. It's where you're going to find episodes of this show, merchandise, links, whatever else you need, videos, things like that. You can also find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. You will find us. We're the only one. We are also on Patreon, so if you would like to become a more permanent part of our family, you can join, or you can come to the Patreon site and help support the show. As always, biggest thanks possible to everybody who does do that. We know you don't have to, and so it means the world to us that you do. But you can go to patreon.com/holybatcast and see what some of those rewards are if you're going to become a patron. So huge thank you for thinking about it, and even bigger thank you if you pull the trigger. We're a part of the Real Fans Podcast Network, so you can check out all the other shows that are part of the network. So there's Real Fans for Real Movies, or RF4RM, where we talk about movies past and present. Most recently, we talked Black Panther, so it's a couple weeks, but we're due for another. There's also Disorder, every Disney film, where we're looking at every Disney animated feature in order, and we just released last night The Sword and the Stone, so check that out. And then finally, the newest member of the family, Please Rewind, the RF for RM podcast. No, the RF for RM Retro Show, where Jamie, Tim, and Guy are looking at older movies as they see fit. So you can check out those shows at rf4rm.com, or you can just search for them by name wherever you get your podcasts. As always, I'm your host, Andy DiGenova. Hello, and if you'd like to follow me when I am not talking about Batman, which is very infrequent, you can follow me on Instagram or on Twitter just by looking for my name, Andy DiGenova. Now, this episode, we're going to be talking a little bit of news about the New Gods, and then we're going to dive into reviewing the Blu-ray for Justice League now that it has been officially released. And joining me, I have my partner in crime, the Cheetah to my Wonder Woman, Mr. Jamie Drewley. Hey, Jamie.
So I'm a really funny lady that can't do anything but comedy? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Everybody knows that Jamie Drewley equals comedy.
I am the all jokes guy.
That is what you are famous for.
I'm still laughing about watching Thor Ragnarok yesterday.
Yeah. So you are. You're our Cheetah because you're so sassy and cat-like.
Because I'm so fast. That's what it is. I'm very fast.
It is.
Anybody who's ever seen me is laughing at that right now. I guarantee that.
You brought it up. We haven't talked about this, have we? So I just lied. I said the show was going to be about one thing, but I'm like, have we talked about Kristen Wiig?
No, not since it was made official, I don't think.
Did we talk about, what did we do? No, last week we talked about the Telltale game. The week prior it was the Untold Legend of the Batman. I don't think we hit on Kristen Wiig for either.
I don't remember that. I definitely didn't talk about it on the video game episode. I know.
Well, we know that. We know that. Did you listen to the video game episode?
I did.
Good. Good for you. It was fun, something different. But yeah, sure.
It makes me want to play video games, and that's a bad thing because I don't have time to play video games.
That's why I liked this one. Is it wasn't super time consuming, and it was really easy to pick up and play. So
bless the hearts of the folks over at DC Comics, because now I can read it and I don't have to play it.
Oh, I see how it is. Or you could watch it on YouTube. That's another thing you could do.
Watching video games on YouTube for some reason does not strike me as a good time. I don't know. Maybe I'm off base on that, but
no, you're just a little too old.
Oh, is that what it is?
Because that's what the kids today do. They don't even want to play video games. They watch them.
Okay.
That's what I hear. This is what I hear. I don't have the kids, so I just have to hear it secondhand. But apparently that's the thing they do. But yeah, that's why I like the Telltale game, is it was really easy to just pick up and play when possible. And some hardcore gamers were like, it's not really a video game. And I was like, hey, just let me have the win, okay? So I know it's not as involved as Arkham Knight, but come on, baby steps.
Look,
support me.
I'm from the days of video games where it was up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, start. Okay, that was video games to me. So,
yeah, for sure. So, we can hit on Kristen Wiig real quick, because it is official that she's going to be Cheetah in Wonder Woman 2.
I can't hit on Kristen Wiig. I mean, I'm married and she's like 4,000 miles away from me. That's not going to work.
Well, I still say nothing ventured, nothing gained. So shoot her a tweet, ask her to dinner. I'm sure your wife would understand.
I like Kristen Wiig. I mean, let's get into it. I think the casting works. I mean, I don't know her dramatic work incredibly well, but for whatever reason, I mean, that announcement was made and I had no hesitation about it. I was like, oh, that could work. I can see it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you and I are already on the same page as this. Is I saw it and I went, wow, didn't see that coming, but great.
Yeah.
Pretty
right.
simple.
I mean,
it's almost like these actors could play different kinds of roles.
Right. It's not what I would have chosen, but you know what? I wouldn't have chosen Ben Affleck for Batman. I wouldn't have chosen Gal Gadot for Wonder Woman. I probably wouldn't have chosen Henry Cavill for Superman. I wouldn't have chosen Jason Momoa for Aqua. I mean, listen, anybody that's been in the DCEU to this point, I would not have chosen for the part that they're in. So I don't know shit about any of that stuff. I just go with what they pick.
Yeah. So
I was mad about Chris Evans getting picked as Captain America because the only thing I knew Chris Evans from was the Fantastic Four movies, and I hated him in those. So, shows you what I know.
I know. Do you know who I wanted for Superman before Man of Steel? Joe Manganiello. And then when he didn't get it, do you know who I wanted for Batman?
Joe Manganiello.
Joe Manganiello. And then when he didn't get it, do you know who I wanted for Wonder Woman? Joe Manganiello.
I should have seen that coming.
I
don't know how I missed that opening.
So don't ask me either. No, I mean, yeah, like the Kristen Wiig thing, it certainly surprised me, but I'm like, great. There's no doubting her talent. She has done some dramatic stuff. The Skeleton Twins was great. That's what I kind of think of as far as non-comedy. And she has range. I've seen her do a lot of different things. And above all else, I have the utmost faith in Patty Jenkins. And if Patty Jenkins and Kristen Wiig got together and talked about Cheetah, and Kristen Wiig's got some ideas for Cheetah, and Patty Jenkins likes those ideas, then I'm going to let them go for it. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, why wouldn't we trust Patty Jenkins' judgment on this?
Right. So I'm all for it.
I'm I'm excited to see what happens. I mean, give me pictures in costume, pictures of her in a lab coat out doing archaeological work or whatever it is that Barbara Ann Minerva does. Off the top of my head, I don't even recall exactly. Mm-hmm. I want to see it. I'm good. I have no issue with this until I have a reason to have issue with it, which I don't at this time. Count
me in. I'm with you. I love this plan. I'm excited to be a part of it. Let's do it.
It never gets old.
I say it daily. Literally. At the end of every meeting. That's how I end my meetings.
I like how you used a Ghostbusters reference to reference a Ghostbusters actress.
I know, right?
That was really sly. I like that.
When I tweeted my support, there was, of course, people coming out and trying to use Ghostbusters against the choice. And I'm like, oh, really? We're going to do this again? We still on this?
I like that movie.
I like it too. But even if you didn't like it, who's blaming Kristen Wiig?
Right. I mean, she wasn't.
Are we pretending that she somehow ruined the movie? Like, is that? Come on. But I like the movie anyway, so hey, don't ask me.
Hey, I paid money for it. I'm not even one of those people that got the friggin' thing for free. I went out and bought it.
So did I. I bought it because the 3D in it was so fun that I had to get the 3D version. And then when I got the free digital one, when they did the whole thing, I was like, oh well, then I just got it twice. But no, I dig that movie too. So F me. The other news that came out this week is that, that's the beauty of being a DC fan. Like, if you're a Marvel fan, which we are casually, but if you're a Marvel fan, like, you know what you're getting. You know the path, you know the road, and you just go down the road happily humming your song, just cruising down the road of Marvel Studios. Just no surprises along the way. It's like, no, we've got our plan for the next 20 years and just go along for the ride. And that's great. But if you're a DC fan, it's like curveball, surprise, speed bump, downhill, uphill. And we got a curveball this week. So the excitement never ends in the DC fandom world.
It's a life less ordinary.
Right? And so Ava DuVernay Ava DuVernay, who, of course, directed the critically acclaimed Selma, and then most recently directed A Wrinkle in Time, which I have not seen. It was announced that she is signed on to direct a New Gods movie as part of the DC universe for Warner Brothers. So this is something no one was talking about, but it's a thing now. And it was one of those things where someone tweeted it to me and I went, wait, what? And I was like, it's not April 1st. No, okay, all right. I guess this is real. So what was your reaction to this?
I don't have a great deal of knowledge about a lot of these fourth world characters. Like Darkseid is literally the one I know the best, and I'm finding out with each passing week, month, year that I know way less about Darkseid than I should. Mm-hmm. So these other characters, I'm reading the Mr. Miracle series right now that Tom King's writing, which is heavily featuring obviously Mr. Miracle and Big Barda, which I think are two pretty cool characters, especially Big Barda. I think she's great. Mm-hmm. My only other experience with her was in, I think it was Superman, Batman, Apocalypse, I think was the one she was in.
It was one of those, but yeah, I think you're right. It's one of those, but there've been so many that I've kind of lost track. But right. Yes, she did show up in a supporting role in one of the animated movies. Right,
and I remember Calabac from the Super Friends show or Super Power show, one of those two. Mm-hmm. So I have a casual knowledge of who the characters generally are, but like I didn't know who Steppenwolf was until I heard he was the villain for Justice League. I had no idea. I had no idea who he was. So I don't know these characters particularly well. But the interesting thing to me was apparently she sent out a tweet, Ava DuVernay, or however you say her name. I don't mean her any disrespect. I just don't know how to say
I think you said it right. You're good.
She apparently sent out a tweet. Somebody asked her like who her favorite character was, and she said her favorite character was, I think she said Big Barda. Which I'm like, wow, that's a really unusual choice, you know?
Yeah, that happened a few months ago. Yeah, where you were like, oh, huh, what a random, unexpected, but cool choice.
Right. And then apparently they've, got her out here for this New Gods film, which I find fascinating that they're going to go to that because this thing's going to have an incredible budget, I would think.
I like how Warner Brothers was like, wait. Ava likes Big Barda? Are you sure? Oh, wait, call her right now.
And that's what I said. My response to this instantly was, this feels to me like one of those deals where Warner Brothers says, we would like to enlist your services to, come develop a film with us. What of our properties would you like to get in on? And I'm sure they were expecting her to say something along the lines of Batgirl or Supergirl or something like that. And she probably said New Gods. And they're like, okay, let's see what we can turn out of this.
Right.
That's how I felt about it. So I have no issue with it. I mean, I'll have to educate myself a little bit more on the characters, or I'll just have to go in blind and enjoy the film for whatever it turns out to be, which I'm finding out probably blissful ignorance between comic books and films might be a thing that I'd be way better off with, because you've all seen my reaction to the Infinity War trailer that got released. I'm not pleased with it, but anyway, I don't want to go down that road. I'm cool with this. I mean, I think it's a fascinating and original idea that nobody else has really tackled. I suppose you could maybe draw some parallels to something along the lines of Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe, just because of the cosmic nature of it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I can't really say at this point I'm excited for it. I'm just excited of the possibility of it, I guess is the best way I can say it.
No, I think that's just kind of the right way to be. I agree with you. It's not what I would have picked, right? But at the same time, it is very different. It's very unique. And if she has passion for those characters, I think that's great. Like I said, I didn't see A Wrinkle in Time. I'm not hearing great things about it, but apparently there is enough good about it that it's not a complete loss. So, all right. Hopefully that, she was able to cut her teeth on some big budget effects work with A Wrinkle in Time and is ready to step up into something even bigger. I'm glad that movie not being great hasn't really tarnished her image, which I didn't expect it to, because apparently it's not that bad. It's just not great. So she wasn't put in director jail or anything. And I do think that there is a little bit of strategy going on as far as pursuing New Gods instead of something more heavily integrated into the DC universe we know. Because you can do New Gods, and it is literally off the planet. It's, so it's so separate from the Justice League corner of the DC universe that she can kind of do what she wants with it and doesn't have to worry about what may or may not be happening in the DC films otherwise. And so this allows her some freedom while they kind of work out what's happening post Justice League with the major DC films. It's kind of the same theory I had with Lobo. It's like, why do Lobo? Well, because it's going to be so separated from Justice League that it can be its own thing, but still technically connected, but it's not reliant on what ends up happening with the Justice League characters. And I think the New Gods is very similar in that way, is it allows her the creative freedom to make the movie she wants to make. And yeah, like then they can connect it later, but it doesn't, it's a movie that doesn't have to wait to see what's going to happen with some of the other franchises or properties within the DC films.
Right. And that's another parallel you can draw with Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, there was literally nothing that happened in the film itself that would have needed to relate to anything in the Marvel universe. So if that gamble that they took, and believe me, folks, whether you want to, take it for what it is or not, Guardians of the Galaxy was a gamble from Marvel Studios because it's a seriously unproven property. Mm-hmm. It obviously worked out great for them and, more power to them, but they could have cut all ties and been done with it and just left it out there to float on its own. But instead it was successful. So now they figured out a way to incorporate them into everything else that they're doing. So right. Yes, very much the same thing can be done here. And I think that's a pretty smart move on their part.
Yeah, it makes sense. It does seem like the things that are moving forward are the ones that aren't reliant on the core franchise. And so that way they can just be on their own. I think that's why we're hearing about this Todd Phillips Joker movie. That's why we're hearing about Lobo. And so now the New Gods. But I am excited for it. I know Mr. Miracle and Big Barda pretty well. I read quite a bit of that in my youth, and I've seen them pop up enough here and there that I feel I know those characters. I know Orion a little bit. I know some of the villains just because they were around with Darkseid in some of the animation stuff and everything. But it's not the corner of the DC universe that I know the best for sure, but I think that's kind of fun and that's kind of exciting too, is it will introduce us to it, much like you say Guardians of the Galaxy, where had I heard of Guardians of the Galaxy? Yes, but could I tell you a lot about them prior to the movie? I couldn't. And so it was kind of fun to just be introduced to them in that way without as much baggage. And I think this allows that same freedom where it's like, no, please introduce me to the New Gods and this entire universe within a universe of that they inhabit. I think that's super fun. And all you have to do is, I know there's some concern of like, oh, maybe it's not tied to the greater DC universe or whatever. I think they're going to leave their options open, but all they have to say is, once Steppenwolf failed on Earth and he came back in disgrace, he's been, whatever. He's been banished, or it's like a line of dialogue can go, oh yeah, okay, it's within the universe, and then just tell your story with Mr. Miracle and Big Barda, and I think that's awesome.
Right, and Steppenwolf did reference the New Gods in Justice League, if I'm not mistaken. So
he did. So yeah, it is funny because Justice League actually, more than anything, did set up that corner of the universe that it can be explored on its own. So yeah, I think it's exciting. I do wish Ava was coming off of something more universally praised than A Wrinkle in Time, but there's no doubting her talent as a filmmaker, and so I hope she's as excited about this as we are, and she's ready to come out swinging.
I've never seen anything she's done, but that doesn't mean she won't do a great job. So
yeah. Well, and I'd
never seen anything Patty Jenkins did prior to Wonder Woman, and I was perfectly pleased with that.
Yeah. But she's beloved in the industry, which is why I think that Wrinkle in Time is like kind of got a pass because everyone's like, yeah, but we love Ava. So
I did see instantaneously, like virtually before I was finished reading what the tweet was about that told me this news, people were like, oh, this means Oprah's going to be Granny Goodness. I saw that like too. 4 or 5 times. I'm like, okay, what?
Yeah.
If as I recall, she was one of the finalists for Amanda Waller in Suicide Squad. So apparently she's open to the idea of being in these movies, and obviously she's got a relationship established with Ava after Wrinkle in Time. So who knows?
That would be interesting. I I've seen the fan cast pop up almost immediately because the internet. And the one that I love is Kathy Bates as Granny Goodness.
I think Kathy Bates would be brilliant, but believe it or not, somebody made a casting choice as a joke just to troll one of our pals. And I thought to myself, that would actually work. I kind of like it. Tyler Perry. Somebody said that just to annoy Roman, and I was like, man, I ain't going to say it out loud, but I can see it.
That would be hilarious. I'd be for it. Because why the hell not, is what I say. So
nothing about this movie is going to be traditional. Why should the casting be? But I think Kathy Bates is the best for me anyway.
God, it's too perfect. Like at this point, because someone said it out loud, now I'm like, I'm going to be bummed if it's anyone else because it's perfect. And
she's fearless too. She'll do anything. So
she's amazing. And especially because Joe Manganiello can't do it. So it's going to have to be Kathy Bates at this point. And anyway, so yeah, I think it's interesting news. It's exciting news. Someone else made another very valid point of like, yeah, well, I'll believe it when I see a trailer, and point taken. We get a lot of these announcements and in development things, and they're not consistent as to which ones get made and which ones don't. So that is true.
The cynical part of me says I would be way less surprised if it didn't get made than if it did. But then, like my realistic side also says they have a black female filmmaker in today's climate. They're going to give her whatever she wants to do this thing within any kind of reasonable reach anyway.
Right. I hope so. I hope they've learned their lesson. I hope they're giving her the latitude to do what she wants, because she'd be a nice jewel in the crown of the DC films. And so you made the deal. Now let her do her thing.
Sure.
But yeah, like when someone said that, and I can't remember who it was, but someone said that, and my knee-jerk reaction was like, "Hey, shut up with your negativity." And then like before I even got to react, I thought about it for a second. I'm like, oh, actually, you have a valid point. Can't argue with you, because Flashpoint was supposed to come out yesterday, so.
Thanks for that. I really needed that in my life. Yeah. Flashpoint didn't come out because Barry screwed up the timeline. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, and it wasn't Flashpoint at that point. At that point, it was just The Flash. So, but yeah, we would be reviewing it right now if we were in a different timeline.
Yeah, life throws you curveballs, man. What are you gonna do?
That it does. So yeah, we'll wait and see. But I think it's exciting news. It's cool that they're willing to go crazy and do a new Gods movie. Who saw that coming? I'm all for it.
Hear, hear.
But yeah, let's talk about the kind of the main focus of today's show. A few weeks ago, Justice League was released digitally, and some of the stuff came out, and people were asking about it. And I was like, you know what? Let's wait till the Blu-ray comes out, and then we'll talk about it all then. Let's not talk about it piecemeal up until then. Let's just talk about it with the Blu-ray. So the Blu-ray did come out this week. We got it in our hot little hands. We watched it, we reviewed it, and so now we want to talk about it with you all. So, let's take a look at the Blu-ray release of Justice League. So, Jamie, what edition of the Blu-ray did you pick up?
I got the Target edition with the lenticular book cover.
Oh, nice. That's good.
There were a lot of great choices for it. There really were, but I had a Target gift card and money's kind of tight at the moment, so that one won out by default.
Good. I hear ya. That is the problem with these, is there are always a lot of options, and so I saw the great Best Buy Steelbook, but the thing is I haven't gotten any of the Steelbooks, so if I got the Justice League Steelbook, I would feel like I'd have to go back and get the other ones in Steelbook, which means I'd just be buying it for the packaging, and I just can't go down that road. So I ordered the 3D one from Amazon, and I did it because I have a 3D TV. I should damn well use it when I can, and 3D Blu-ray releases are getting scarcer because 3D TVs never really caught on, which doesn't totally surprise me, but anyway, I went for that because I'm like, well, I might as well have the option. So I got it. It was like $10 more than the normal option. $10. I was so excited on Tuesday to come home, find it in my mailbox. There it was. I opened it up, and guess what, Jamie?
You had no digital copy.
I had no digital copy. It did not come with digital copy. It's $10 more than the one with the digital copy and doesn't come with a digital copy.
You know, I'm going to take this moment just to interject my annoyance with the current wave of home video products that are being released. Number one, it still pisses me off that I have to wait weeks to a month to get the freaking hard copy over the digital. That's annoying as hell, and it should stop. People that want digital want digital. People that want hard copies want hard copies. Stop making people double dip, or stop making people wait for those who aren't digital like me. Just stop. People are going to buy what they're going to buy regardless. Making them wait isn't going to cause them to double dip just because. It's just annoying. Number two, please, for the love of God, release a deluxe pack. I don't care if it costs $35, but give me one that has the 4K disc, the regular Blu-ray, the DVD, and the digital copy all in one package. Because I'm tired, if I want to buy a disc in 4K, if I want to buy it where I have a DVD so my kids can watch it in the freaking car, I have to buy two different copies because none of the 4Ks come with DVDs. So I'm kind of done with that whole thing too. I didn't even buy Justice League in 4K for the simple fact that I knew I wanted that DVD more than I wanted the 4K copy. So
Got it. Yeah. There should just be, if you will, an ultimate edition that just has every version for you. Because you're right. Like, you have to give stuff up depending on which one you go with.
Right. Now, see, I think the Ghost, of all things that we bring up tonight, this is weird. When I bought the Ghostbusters movie, there was some special edition that was on Amazon that was the 3D, the Blu-ray, the DVD, and the digital copy all in one box. That's literally the only one, and the 4K was in there too. That's the only one I've ever bought that had all of them in one. And it was like a $40 disc, but that's okay because I got everything I wanted out of that. I would have paid $40 to buy it anyway if I wanted, the DVD and the other thing separate, which I wouldn't have done that with that particular movie. But my point is, I'll pay $40 if you're going to put it all in the package and hand it to me,
Yeah, I agree with you.
Sorry, I just that crap's annoying to me. So
it's okay.
I'm a multimedia thing because, like, I bought that disc and my family took off. My wife had a business trip in West Virginia and she took her mother and my kids with her because my kids were off of school. So my kids all wanted to watch Justice League when they went there. So they took the DVD with them. If I hadn't had that DVD, my kids were going to be pissed, and I can't have pissed off kids. That doesn't work.
Yeah. I am with you, and this has been our new segment, First World Problems. Thank you for joining us.
That is utterly the epitome of first world problems. So
It totally
for
is.
anybody out there suffering real problems, my apologies for sounding like a snippety asshole about that.
I completely agree, and I also apologize. And I even, when this happened, I immediately messaged Jamie and Brendan and our buddy Jeremy, and I was like, okay, guys, I'm sorry to bother you, and this is the stupidest first world problem, but can I complain for a minute? And it was because mine didn't come with a digital copy. I'm like, what the hell is this? The Dark Ages? You don't give me a digital copy, like just a disc, and I paid more for it? Come on.
That's silly.
I know in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter, but it was annoying anyway. Fortunately, friend of the show, an all around nice guy, Michael Masunis, he had my back and he sent me his code for a digital copy.
Nice.
Which was super nice. So yeah, Michael Masunis, thank you. Thank you for solving my first world problem. I feel so much better now. Michael has his own podcast, the Sweep the Leg podcast. Celebrates all things, but mostly the Karate Kid, I think. But anyway, Michael's just he's a good dude, and he was nice. He shared, I don't know if he had an extra digital copy or what, but he was nice enough to send me a code. So now all is right in the world, and I can watch it on the go without a disc. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I've noticed that the Real Fans group has turned into like a bingo game for digital copies lately.
Oh, it totally has.
Like, okay, first come, I got an extra digital copy of this one. First one to post gets it. And it's like I see like 60 posts on the thing. I'm like, Jesus Christ, people, just go to the store and buy one.
Hey, man, you take it where you can get it.
I guess.
But yeah, it is funny. It's like become an auction.
It's like a freaking digital raffle. It's amazing.
Yep. But anyway, we finally have the Blu-ray. I just have a normal regular case, but now I can watch it in 3D, which I probably, honestly, never will. But I can, is the important thing.
I never saw it in 3D in the theater, so I don't even know if I'm missing out there.
I didn't either, but I was just like, no, I should. Anyway.
Most of the theaters around me suck with the 3D stuff anyway, so I never go to 3D unless it's like specifically made for that format.
Oh, yeah. And
but I've noticed most of the home releases actually do look pretty decent, for the 3D stuff.
I always say 3D looks better at home than it does in the theater, which is odd, but true.
Yeah.
So anyway, we did get to pour over our Blu-rays, and we really focused on the special features because, well, the movie is the movie is the movie. And however you feel about the movie, it's still the same movie. That ain't changing when you pick it up either digitally or on Blu-ray or on DVD or on Betamax. Still the same movie.
Well, let me tell you how I feel about the movie. I still love it.
So if we had stuck with our original recording time, I would have rewatched the movie. But we bumped it up a whole day so that Brendan Lowe could join us. And thank God, because I hope you guys have been enjoying Brendan's contributions to this episode.
Brendan passed out because of the Richard Citrone post. So
yeah.
He's unavailable at the moment.
Yeah. Funny story, Brendan died. So, R.I.P. Brendan.
I tried to warn him about all those venomous spiders down there, but he don't ever listen to me.
Yeah, he actually got beat to death by an angry kangaroo.
They're really good boxers, I'm told.
They are. He has incriminating claws marks on his back, just like Grandma who got run over by a reindeer.
Wow.
No, but he dropped out because his internet is screwed up. I think because a kangaroo chewed through the cord, but
yet he still had enough internet to tell us this. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
That I didn't even think about that. That's weird. Anyway, so if we had the extra day, I would have been able to rewatch the movie, but I haven't been able to rewatch the movie because I just this morning with my coffee had to rewatch all the special features because the movie's the movie. So maybe tonight I'll get to rewatch the movie, but I saw the movie 4 times in the theater and I'm with you. I still love it.
I think it gets better every time I watch it personally, but hey, what do I know?
Yeah. So, and I'm actually really excited now that I have it at home where I can just watch it and enjoy it for what it is, and not have to worry about drama or baggage. I can just enjoy the movie. I was actually afraid to post that that's what we were doing the episode on because Twitter is just a barren wasteland of the apocalypse. And you mentioned Justice League. You're just inviting trouble. But if there was any, I missed it. I didn't see any from when I shared that that's what we were doing this week. So that's good. Because I wasn't sure how that was going to go down. But yeah, I love the movie as well, which we've talked about multiple times. And the movie hasn't changed. So we have it now on Blu-ray. How does it look on your home system?
It looks great. I think the colors come out really nicely. I think I don't have any issue with the special effects in the film. I never did, really, to speak of. But on the home release, and mind you, the theaters I go to, I don't go to because I think that they have the best sound systems, the best pictures, all that other stuff. I go because I can get reserved seating and their chairs are really freaking comfortable. So, call me a lazy ass, whatever you want to do. That's what I like about the theater I go to. So usually when I watch a movie at home, it almost always looks better than it did when I saw it in the theater. And as far as anything that I saw watching it again last night, I think it looked great. I really think it looked good. I mean, sure, there's probably some spots you could nitpick. And yes, I did this time notice stuff with Cavill's mouth with the digital removal of the mustache and whatnot. But none of this was enough to take away any enjoyment I had about this film. Mm-hmm. But as far as the overall quality of the picture, I think it looked better at home than it did in the theater. But that very well could be less about what they did cleanup-wise on the Blu-ray than it was. I just generally have a nicer picture at home than the theater that I attend.
Yeah, I think we all do. I don't think they did any additional cleanup. I think it is what it is. But because I haven't watched it at home yet, I am wondering there were for the most part, I still thought it looked pretty good in the theater, but there were a couple wonky parts, and I'm hoping they're less noticeable at home, not more. But I'm afraid they might be more noticeable in on Blu-ray?
Well, I had a specific focus in some areas that you guys had pointed out to me, because I had mentioned I didn't notice as much of it as you do, because I don't look for that sort of thing. So unless something just glaringly jumps out at me, I don't normally catch it. So I was looking at, the face during the opening sequence where the kids have the camera phone or whatever it is that they're recording Superman with. And yeah, I could see a little bit of it there. And, later in the film after Superman's resurrection, I could see some of it there for sure. But like I noticed you guys all had something to say about that, the cornfield sequence with him and Lois.
Yeah.
After the resurrection. I got to tell you, I still don't see where it looked all that bad.
Okay. I mean, again, it's something that on subsequent viewings in the theater, I just kind of stop paying attention to it if possible. Same thing with the mouth stuff. I still think the first scene with the mouth is really rough, but after that, I think the rest of it's fine. And I'm also trying not to just look at his lip in every scene that he's in, because you're missing a lot of movie that way. But yeah, so I don't know. Again, we'll see how it looks on Blu-ray. But again, like the more I'm used to it, the more I just stop paying attention to that stuff, because I just want to watch the movie. And I think that stuff starts to just fade into the background.
Sure.
But we did check out all the special features. So there are quite a good amount of special features on the Blu-ray, which I was really happy with. I'm assuming they're the same ones that come with digital. So I've got the list here. We don't have to go one by one, but here's what you get if you buy it. As far as extras go, you got Road to Justice, which is essentially a history lesson of Justice League from comic book writers and artists and just people who've contributed to Justice League over the years. A lot of people from DC Comics. And then it finally ends up going into the movie. But it's basically their comic book history, and then eventually a little bit of Super Friends, and then eventually into the movie itself. So that's Road to Justice. There's Heart of Justice, which just celebrates the Trinity. So it goes into some detail about Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. There's Technology of the Justice League, where it is what it says it is. They just talk about some of the tech in the movie and how it was designed and thought out. Mostly vehicles, like they talk about the Flying Fox and the Nightcrawler, a little bit on the Flash's suit, some on Cyborg. So randomly, tech of the Justice League. Justice League, The New Heroes. So Ray Fisher hosts this, where they just talk about the history. So if they did the Trinity one, this is kind of the companion to the Trinity featurette, where they talk about the histories of Cyborg, Aquaman, and the Flash. But that's hosted by Ray Fisher. There's Steppenwolf the Conqueror, which is just this really short 3-minute, here's who Steppenwolf is, and he's in our movie. Then they do scene studies, where they break down some of the big action sequences of the film. So they do one that's revisiting the Amazons, which is essentially the game of Keep Away with the Mother Box. There's Wonder Woman's Rescue, which is, of course, Wonder Woman's intro into the film, where the terrorists have the bomb and she goes in and saves everyone. There's Heroes Park, which is Justice League fighting Superman. And then the Tunnel Battle. So those are each about 3 or 4 minutes, where they just break down the scene and talk about all the stuff that went into creating those different action scenes. There is Suit Up, The Look of the League, which is all about the costume design. And then finally, what is called The Return of Superman, which threw me off a little bit, because I just thought it would say deleted scenes, but it doesn't. It says The Return of Superman, and it is 2 deleted scenes of Superman from the film, which odds are you've already seen, even without the Blu-ray. But that is the lineup. I was impressed with the amount of stuff on it, and I actually really enjoyed watching all of it. How about you, Jamie?
Yeah, I think I got through all of the special features in, I don't know, probably an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes tops. So, I mean, it wasn't overly time consuming, but it was pretty interesting. I do have one major gripe. Ray Fisher, I love him as Cyborg. I think he did an outstanding job, but can somebody please teach him how to hold a comic book?
How did he hold it? I didn't know.
He was like holding it from the bottom, so like I can see the stupid thing bending going forward, and that sort of thing makes me crazy. I can't handle it. Like there was a scene in Black Lightning, I think episode 2, where a girl had a comic book folded and stuck in her back pocket, and I still can't get over that a month and a half later because it just drives me crazy when people do that sort of thing to comics. So.
Oh my God, you're Brody from Mallrats.
I am. My God, I am. So
touch not, lest ye be touched.
I tried to teach you how to handle comics in the 6th grade. Yeah. I can't.
I didn't notice. That's not where I thought you were going with this.
I can't tell you how many times I've been in my comic book shop because they'll bag and board. They bag everything. They don't board everything. So like I'll pull out a comic I'm looking for in one of the back issue boxes and I'll pull it out and there's no board and I was like, there should be boards in these, you savage. So
perfect.
Yeah, anyway, that's no. I enjoyed the features. I particularly like the scene breakdowns where they kind of did the behind the scenes of how they put things together and how they shot it and applied the special effects. I thought that was really cool. The one thing that stood out to me is I noticed how much shinier Superman's suit looks, and then watching the one about the costumes and seeing how they had the chrome plating underneath the mesh that caused it to shine the way that it did. I thought that was really interesting that they did that. I'm not entirely sure why they did it, but I think it was pretty cool the way they did it. So yeah, I think there was some really good details and stuff in there.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm a sucker for any of those where they go back to the comics and share info and progress about the characters and everything through their comic book roots and then really showing it up against what they did in the movie. I don't know. I love that, just that historical context for these characters and for the Justice League. So I really like those a lot. And to hear they got quite a variety of people to talk about these things. They had Jim Lee, Jeff Johns, of course. Bruce Timm was in there. Grant Morrison was in there. Marv Wolfman. Mm-hmm. So they had a good variety of people talking about. I'm sure there are others that I'm leaving out. But
I like hearing from Jim Lee because that guy is like a personal hero of mine. I've loved his artwork since the first time I opened a book with his art in it. Mm-hmm. He is my favorite artist of all time. I think he's amazing. Naturally. Obviously, we all know Johns to be an outstanding writer for these characters. Mm-hmm. Grant Morrison is a little bit more divisive. I mean, he's certainly respected in the industry, but I've read some Morrison stuff I thought was really great. I've read some Morrison stuff that I thought was really off the wall strange, which, the guy does not confine himself to doing things like anybody else does, which I respect that. So even if he does something that maybe doesn't work, I kind of like the idea that he went out of his way to try something that different. But I'm going to tell you, I could listen to that guy talk all day. There's something about his voice I just absolutely love.
Because he has an accent. We Americans love accents.
Like the Scottish, Irish accents, even like a Welsh accent. I have a hard time listening to that sometimes because I don't always understand what they say. But there's like something combining his accent with his tone of voice. I just think it's like almost soothing.
No, I hear you.
Just listening to that Lee Malaby guy. I mean, that guy's like, just nails on a chalkboard.
The worst. Or Brendan? Jeez. I think Dan Didio was in there too. But it was really cool. And then once they started talking about the movies, and I think this is one of the unfortunate things about the extras, but not at all surprising, is that Zack Snyder doesn't do any interviews in these extras. I'm not shocked at all, because would you want to do interviews about your ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend? I don't think so.
Probably not.
So I'm not at all shocked that he's not there at all. There's tons of behind the scenes footage of him on set doing stuff.
And I love that. It really warmed my heart seeing it. And I know this was sugar coated as hell because there at no point in any one of these special features do they show Joss Whedon or mention his name.
Nope.
And the only times they ever show Zach, he's got a big old smile on his face and he's interacting with the actors and the production crew, and he looks like he's having the time of his life.
Yeah.
And whether or not that's an accurate portrayal of what went on for the majority of time that he did spend working on this film, it just kind of did my heart good knowing that he did enjoy at least some of what he did there prior to the tragedy that befell him and his family and the struggles that he may have had in post-production with it, what have you. So it just warmed me up a little bit seeing him react the way he did in the clips that they showed, even if it might have been slighted in any way, you know?
Oh, and I mean, that's exactly it. Yeah, there's no mention or acknowledgement of Joss Whedon at all, and a lot of acknowledgement of Zack Snyder. Because, I mean, technically, on-screen credit is still directed by Zack Snyder. It is still technically a movie he directed. So that's who they show. That's the story they're sticking with. And even if he doesn't do the interviews, his wife does. Deborah Snyder is there. She's kind of speaking from the film side. Charles Roven, the producer, is there too. And I wonder if she's like, well, I'll take the hit. I'll go do it. And you don't, because someone's got to, right? Someone's got to talk it from the movie making side. And so those were the two who did it. Again, not shocked that Zach didn't, but everyone paid some really nice lip service to Zach throughout. And that was really great to hear too. I mean, and by all accounts, you know, he is just one of the nicest people you'll ever work with in your life. And you can even see that when you see the behind the scenes stuff. Just such a good dude, and so well dressed for being a director on set. He's always looking so dapper.
He's got a really eclectic wardrobe going on, because like they'll show him wearing like a vest and
he's got like
the suit minus the jacket, and he's got a tie, and then the next thing you see him in's like a hoodie and some sneakers.
Yeah, I loved like the jeans and the trendy shoes and the vest and the tie. He looks great. But yeah, like you can see how much he was enjoying it, at least in those moments. Of course, obviously it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows every moment, but you can still see a lot of excitement and passion there between him and between the cast, and seeing them doing what they're doing. And you're right, it's just nice to see him, as people who are huge fans of his. It's a bittersweet thing to see him right there on set making these things happen, knowing how things were going to end up.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, everyone gives him a nice little shout out, and just what a great guy he is. And so, I love that. So, but yeah, like I'm trying to think of what else.
There is one, and I watched them all just like right in a row in one sitting. So I mix them up. I can't remember which one this was in. It was probably, I'm going to guess the one about the costume designs, but I could be off on that, where they showed some like production photos, like some sketches, concepts. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there was one of Superman in a full blown black uniform, black cape and everything.
Yep. That was in the costume featurette. Because that was one of the things I did want to mention. So yeah, like they show a quick shot of some concept art of Superman in full-on black suit.
I don't know that it was less of a movie because we didn't get that, but still, it's kind of cool seeing it.
For sure. And it makes you wonder like how far down that road they did end up going, because we have no idea. But yeah, I was actually surprised they showed that in the featurette. It did feel like they cut around things in just the right way, so that way it still felt like the movie you watched is the movie they made.
Right.
So
they were really careful not to show you things that didn't make the final cut, if you will.
Exactly. And so, but yeah, that was one of the big ones where you're like, oh wow, that's the black suit. So that was that. And there were a couple little moments of behind the scenes things where you're like, wait, I don't think that was in the movie. But because there's so much green screen and everything, it's really hard to tell kind of what moment it might have been. Mm-hmm. But there's a little bit of that. And I've seen people way more meticulous than I go through and like do the screen grab and go, which scene is this? Where was this? And things like that. But there were a couple like that where the one that sticks out is there's one where Superman has already returned and they're all standing together and looking up. And Superman is there and Batman's behind him, but the whole team is together looking up at something. That's not in the movie. I don't know what they're looking at, what's happening in that moment, but that moment is not in the movie that I could tell.
I'm not even sure which scene exactly you're referencing, so I
well,
can't
again,
see
well, that's just because it's a quick little behind the scenes shot of them
right.
standing on a green screen platform with green screen behind them. But because Superman is amongst them, it's at the end of the movie. But it's just a shot where you go, oh yeah, I don't remember this happening.
What I did really like about it is in the deleted scenes portion, showing you the different variations of who Alfred was talking to. I mean, you had Green Lantern there, you had Supergirl there, you had Blue Devil there. I mean, it was really cool that they went down that whole list and shot all those.
I love it because that way they didn't have to commit to one. They could just, choose the day before the premiere.
Sure.
So I was excited about that as well. I agree with you.
It's very nifty.
I mean, getting into the deleted scenes. So these deleted scenes had already come out online.
I never watched them. I waited for the disc. I did not watch them online at all. So these were all new to me.
Nice. Well, I did watch the one where Superman is in the ship looking at the suits and then collecting his, the classic blue and red suit. I'd watched that one when it hit online. The other one with Alfred, I did not. That was one where I was like, oh no, I'm going to wait for the Blu-ray. Now, in my mind, those were just the two that had gotten out there, but there were plenty more on the disc. That's what I thought was going to happen. I was like, well, great. Once I get the disc, I'll finally watch that one I didn't watch, and then I'll watch everything else. And
I mean,
no.
we had all those leaked scenes shortly after the movie that showed the scene where Barry's with Iris and the car and the shattered glass and all that stuff that went on with that. All those got leaked on there, and I'm like, oh, these are all going to be the deleted scenes. That's why they got leaked out here, is because they have them on file to put on the disc when they release the home video of it. And
yep.
Nope.
Yep. Yeah. So I really thought there were going to be a lot of deleted scenes, but it is just those two.
It's literally like 2 minutes and 14 seconds or something like that. I mean, it's barely 2 minutes. And, a lot of that's an 8-second countdown leading into it. So it's really less than 2 minutes of what you actually got footage-wise.
Yep. Each one is about a minute, and that's it. So I feel like this is the biggest thing I wanted to talk about. And because just starting from there only being two, I've got two theories as to why there's only two. Theory number one is that those two were scenes that were completed and just sitting there ready to go and didn't need any additional work and were easy to plop on as extras and weren't all that revealing as far as the Whedon versus Snyder thing goes. And so they were like, these two we'll put on there so we can market deleted scenes. They're ready to go, and they won't cause any real controversy, because all these other things, like you mentioned, like, Barry saving Iris, that goes down a rabbit hole. And so they're like, these are the two safe ones we can release, and we can say we've got deleted scenes. Everything else we don't want to talk about. We don't want any more attention about what was cut or changed. So let's not even go there, and we'll just keep it simple. That's theory number one.
I can go with that.
Theory number two is that they are sitting on a shitload of other deleted scenes that they're going to make us double dip for sometime in the future when they do release an extended cut. Not necessarily a Snyder cut, but an extended cut. So that way they can maybe squeeze a little bit more money out of this movie. And so they just gave us a little sample on this first one. And then sometime down the road, they'll be like, oh no, now see even more. And you'll have to buy it again, you bunch of nerds. So
I can also go with that.
Especially considering what happened with Batman vs. Superman and with Suicide Squad, like, it wouldn't be shocking. So
but those released their extended cuts, or whatever you want to call them, right off the bat.
Day one.
They make you wait.
There
was no double dip involved.
Right. So those are my theories. The optimist in me hopes it's the latter, because I would still like an extended cut, even with what we've got, plus more, because even when we reviewed the film the first time, I still think one of the problems was it was cut so damn tight. It just needed a little room to breathe. And I would happily buy that extended version.
The film as is. Now, don't get me wrong. I really do love the film as we got it, but boy, does that thing just whip right by.
Yeah. Yeah. But the realist in me thinks it's theory number one, and that they're just like, you know what? We're done with it. We're washing our hands of it. This is all you get, and let's move on.
Well, that's just it. I mean, I think it would be great to get an extended cut or the Snyder cut if it exists or any of that stuff. I would be fine with that. But all I can think of in my head is Warner Brothers is not going to release any of this just out of the goodness of their heart to please fans. They're going to do it because they think they're going to make a bunch of money on it.
Exactly.
Is
the
there
only reason they
potential
would do
for
it
them
is to
make a bunch of
recover money.
Because if there's not, I don't see it ever happening.
Yeah. That is the only reason they would bother, is if they think they could get some extra money. And that's why and again, that's for me why I think they might force a double dip as opposed to releasing it on day one, because this movie needs it more than those did.
True enough.
You know, they have more that they need to recoup when it comes to this movie. And so, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And the fact that they did cut these two scenes, now getting into the scenes themselves. I mean, as for what will happen if there will ever be an extended cut, you know, wait and see, right? I personally, I do hope so. I will double dip for it because I would like a fuller Justice League film than the one I have now. But these two scenes that are on here, you can tell they're finished and probably pretty seamlessly lifted out of the theatrical cut. Now, there's no great reason to cut them other than this alleged mandate that the movie had to be less than 2 hours. Now, when that rumor came out, and it was never confirmed, by the way, that it had to be under 2 hours, but that was the prevailing story, was no, Warner Brothers CEO Kevin Tsujihara said it has to be under 2 hours. But these two scenes lead me to believe that that is 100% true, because it was like, what can we cut? And the movie was released at 1 hour and 59 minutes. So like, it just feels like that was absolutely the case because these were finished. There's no reason to cut them other than the fact that they were just trying to shave time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think not having these two scenes there made it less of a complete film. I don't really think either one of them had any impact as to what was really going on.
No, they were not integral to the story.
Right.
Absolutely.
They're essentially inconsequential. I mean, it's cool to see. I liked them both. Don't get me wrong, but they were not. You and I kind of have a philosophical difference in how we view the difference between the theatrical and the ultimate cut of BVS, because I thought it fleshed out the film more completely and made it a more solid and more coherent film. You did not necessarily see it that way. You just found it to have extra detail padding what we already knew. Neither one of us is entirely wrong in how they see it, but in this case, I really don't see where having these scenes taken out made any difference at all in the film whatsoever, other than what we're talking about with the runtime.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, and we talked about it with BVS, is don't ever get me wrong, the extended cut is the better movie, without a doubt. But I was just trying to see it from the standpoint of, okay, if I was tasked with cutting this movie down, this scene gives you the same information as this other scene, so cut one of them. And so I just understood the rationale of why certain things were cut, even though I think the movie is better with it in there. Okay. And the same thing here. I understand why these were cut, because they don't give you vital information for the movie. The movie can still make sense without them. But would the movie be better with them? I think so. Especially because there was so much around the Return of Superman that having this quiet, contemplative moment of Clark going back to that ship, you know, re-embracing who he is after his rebirth. Does it give you important plot info? No, but it's a great, very quiet, very meaningful moment of Clark that I still think it makes the movie a little better. And the moment with Alfred, it sort of gives info as like how he knows where to go, I guess. But it's still just a really nice Superman moment. Plus, it freaking pays off that trailer that they put it in. You big dopes. So I absolutely understand, like, no, these scenes were not needed for the movie to make sense, but would they make the movie a little bit better, a little bit fuller? Yes.
Fair enough.
So, and those are the kind of moments that we're missing.
Black costume. I mean, for everybody that loves the black Superman costume, you get more black costume. So there is that.
Right. And you get Man of Steel music.
Look, I was never a fan of the black costume in the comics. I read that all as it was happening. All I could think to myself was, man, this is not. I was not hip to it back then. But I think the black costume they had set up in this movie was actually pretty cool. And if he would have put that on, I'm not sure where it would have fit in the film as we know it, but it still would have been kind of cool to see.
That's just the thing, is I don't know where he would have put it on.
Well, he wouldn't have unless we got an entirely different cut of the film.
Right.
Okay, look, if we would have got the original plan of Justice League Part 1 and Justice League Part 2, where Superman's essentially the villain in Part 1, and then in Part 2 they all go to Apokolips and start laying waste to Darkseid and his folks, I can see Part 1 Superman being in the all-black costume as he is the main antagonist of the film. That makes sense. But having him in the black costume at the end of this film when he shows up to, step up to Steppenwolf, I did not say that on purpose. That sounded horrible as I said it. I knew it, but you get what I'm saying. It just there's no place in this film where the black costume makes sense for him to actually be wearing.
Exactly. And I got into it a little bit with someone on Twitter about that, being like, this movie sucks because no black costume. That was his argument. And I was like, number one, why does the black costume matter that much that you're going to throw the movie away because it wasn't in there? Like, for me, I'm like, well, would it have been kind of cool? Sure, but I don't really care one way or the other. But that was his thing, is like, no black costume, I hate this movie. And I was like, why? But then I was like, but there's nowhere in this movie as it stands where it would have made sense for him to wear it. Because you're right, if he'd have worn it for the entire climax, then it's like, well, that's not what I want to see. When Superman's fighting alongside the Justice League, I want to see Superman in the classic suit. I don't want to see black costume Superman for this movie.
Look, I get costume sensitivity, because how long did you hear me bitch? I mean, I'm still mad they didn't put the trunks on him in Man of Steel, or in this one for that matter. So, I'm
all about costumes. You know this.
I know.
I'm all about them. But is the black costume that big a part of the mythology that it is a deal breaker? Not to me.
Certainly not to me. No.
That's my point. Like
I said, I didn't even like it in the comics. I thought it was stupid in the comics. But what do I know?
Well, and in the comics, it's like, what? It was for like, a couple issues? It wasn't even that long of a thing.
I don't even remember how long it was. I just remember, really, this is what he's wearing? Okay.
I mean, it was for the return, and like he returned and he wore it, and then he was in the red and blue one almost immediately.
With that Kurt Russell mullet style thing happening.
Yeah, the 90s mullet Superman, hell yeah. And now someone is going to send us an email being like, actually, it was for 13 months. And if that's the case, that is not how I recall it, but I'll trust you more than me.
I don't remember.
In my memory, it was just for like an issue or two, just for him to be resurrected, and then he got back in the other suit.
That Return of Superman arc went on for a really long time. So, yeah, forgive me if my timeline's a little messed up on that.
Yeah. But anyway, so like, for me, it wasn't a big deal. And you're right. Like, as the movie is structured, there was no point that made sense for him to wear it. So it didn't matter to me. As you mentioned, though, like in the extra on the costumes, which I really enjoyed, Michael Wilkins said the costume designer is just so cool. It was really interesting to hear the rationale behind the looks of everyone,
right?
Which was neat.
The Aquaman costume, he said Zach wanted it to look old and not. I don't remember the exact word he used, but it's basically it needed to look used, is more or less what
right.
Almost like rust. I want to say rustic, but that's not the word he used. I can't remember now. So, I mean, it was interesting hearing the details of what they plugged into that.
Yeah, and just how, like, there's some battle damage on Wonder Woman's, but it's subtle enough that you can't really tell.
What did they say? Like, she had, like, what was it, 16 costumes or something like that?
Yeah, to make them more comfortable for her, which is good. And I liked the whole thing about, like, they think that the Flash sped in and stole the material from NASA.
And left a pile of money on the floor.
Which I thought was pretty clever. I liked that a lot. So yeah, I just thought it was really neat to hear what that rationale was. But like we said, like I liked it. He was like, Superman should be just a little bolder and brighter in this because this is his triumphant return. And I liked that what they came up with of how it was almost iridescent because of the silver plates underneath the blue suit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so I thought that
it
was
really cool how they pulled it off.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to point out, because I've tried to mention it twice and I keep slipping my mind because I do that and I'm an idiot. Hearing these people talk about the characters they played and the passion that they carried for it, particularly, in my opinion, Cavill seems to carry a tremendous amount of passion for playing Superman. And even some other people mentioned, I don't remember if it was Roven or who it was, said how much he loves that character of Superman. Mm-hmm. Affleck talking about his love of Frank Miller's Batman from Dark Knight Returns, which, certainly I can relate to that. Mm-hmm. Ezra just kind of having, he's kind of a strange personality anyway, but he's still kind of interesting to listen to. Of course, Ray Fisher talking about Cyborg. And Momoa talking about Aquaman, I thought was excellent too. So just hearing all of them kind of give a little bit of the background and reasoning for why they love these characters the way they do, I thought that was really neat too.
Nah, yeah, I agree with you. That was really awesome. As Ezra, I find him so charming.
He is. He's a weird dude, but he's interesting.
He is. He's weird, but
in the right way. He's interesting in
exactly.
the right way.
But yeah, you're right. Like all of them have such great love for their characters, and I think that's awesome. And even I think Cavill talks on the extras about Superman's arc of like, oh, we saw the birth of Superman, we saw the essentially the downfall of Superman, and then this is the triumphant rebirth. And I just, it is a nice arc throughout. But one thing that we saw in this where, and I know again people have posted screen grabs, but the shirt rip scene at the end of the film with Henry Cavill's Superman, which I do love that moment in this movie. If you see the behind the scenes, Zack Snyder is there for that. So throughout the behind the scenes footage, you see when Zack Snyder was present, and you go, if you follow along, like, I feel like the overall structure of the movie is probably still pretty consistent with what was created, because these were like really big moments that are still in the movie that he was present for.
Right. So unless the takes that they're showing, because obviously they didn't show him go through complete takes, are utterly different than what wound up being in the finished product.
Well, there definitely are. And again, it's one of those things that like I didn't really notice the first time. I definitely noticed like the second or third time, but now I'm hoping I'm not going to notice anymore. There are definitely close-up inserts that were obviously reshoots. But within scenes that Zack Snyder had shot. So like a good example is the scene when Bruce is recruiting or trying to recruit Aquaman, and they're talking back and forth, and it's a Zack Snyder scene, but then they cut to a close-up of Momoa saying something, and all of a sudden they're like, oh wait, that's slightly different. And it's like, okay, that insert of that line was Joss Whedon. And then it cuts back to like a wide shot where Momoa is obviously in the water in Iceland or wherever the hell they are, and you go, okay, now it's back to a Zack Snyder shot. So it's like there was that happens quite a bit throughout the movie. So the overall scene, I think, was already there, and then Joss inserted these little moments within the pre-existing scene.
Okay. You got a better eye for stuff like that than I do. So,
well, again, the first time I didn't really, and then people start talking about it, and then I can't help but look for it, and I go, oh yeah, I see it now. So, but anyway, as far as like those big scenes, most of those were, at least on a broad scale, they were, Snyder was present for most of them. But then there were a couple where like they didn't show any director, and that's where I'm like, I wonder if Joss is in that one. So things like that. I try not to get caught up into it because at the end of the day, I just want to enjoy the movie.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
But yeah, we did get to see Alfred meet Kal-El.
Which
is a nice little scene.
Is more or less, other than seeing Superman walk up to him and say, "You must be Alfred," was literally exactly what was in the trailer.
Yeah. Oh, and I will say this. I mentioned it earlier, but we were kind of talking over each other. But like the scene in the ship I love it because it's this great quiet moment, but we get more Man of Steel music.
Oh, yes, the
which
music.
I do wanted more Man of Steel music throughout. But after he re-suits up and you get that shot that is very much a parallel of when he first suits up in Man of Steel, that
when
one
the doors
hurts.
open up, you mean?
Yes. That hurts to lose. Like that was worth keeping. Like, what a great parallel from the first time Superman is born and then the second time.
I get that. I really do. Like I said, I would have just as soon kept these scenes in, but what are you going to do?
No, I understand.
I would have just as soon had the.
I'm just saying, like, when I saw
edition.
that moment, I was like, oh man, that's great.
I would have just as soon had the Ultimate Edition of BVS be what got released in theaters. So, what the hell do I know?
Well, I think at this point, everyone who likes the movie agrees with you. I've never heard anyone say, screw the Ultimate Edition, I prefer theatrical.
I've heard one person on Twitter say they prefer the theatrical cut. One.
Huh.
And I only caught that because somebody retweeted and said, I hope they're not serious.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone say that.
It's whatever. I like the theatrical cut. When they show it on HBO, I watch it. I can't tell you how many times I've watched it. People say I'll never watch the theatrical cut again. It's like I'm not that put off by it. I prefer the Ultimate Edition, but I'll watch the theatrical cut. I'm fine.
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course. I mean, we liked the theatrical cut first, and then when we saw the Ultimate cut, we liked it even better.
Sure.
So, well, there you go. Justice League on Blu-ray now available for you to pick up and enjoy as you will. I'm excited to have it as part of my collection. I am excited to revisit it for years to come. Because at the end of the day, I had a great time with it, and I look forward to having a great time with it again.
I think Superman said it best when he said, I'm a big fan of Justice. Because I am a big fan of Justice. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to add this to my repertoire. Not only do I like Batman, I like Justice League.
Mm-hmm. I'm less of a big fan of the American way.
Well, they were in Russia. I mean, what's he going to do? I mean, they're in the middle of Russia. He can't say the American way in Russia. Putin's probably got the joint bugged.
I do actually prefer the American way to the Russian way. So if he had said truth, justice, and the Russian way, then we'd be doing Red Sun. So, but there you go, Justice League on Blu-ray. I think it is worth your money, especially if you already liked the movie. And if you already liked the movie, don't let anyone talk you out of it. Pick it up and enjoy it. You do you. You don't need that kind of negativity in your life. Enjoy Justice League if you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, then, you're probably not going to like the Blu-ray. So save your money. Take yourself out to the Sizzler and enjoy that instead.
Sizzler. You had to say it, didn't you?
Go out to Sizzler and just forget about Justice League. Think about happier things you like more. Like all-you-can-eat salad bar. And make your own sundae. But anyway, worth picking up. I did enjoy going through it today, and I will enjoy rewatching the movie tonight. But now, let's see what you all have to say. Because it is time again for the Wayne Manor Mailbox.
Welcome to the Wayne Manor Mailbox!
So that was a thing.
Have you seen my jaw? I seem to have dropped it somewhere.
Oh, when I got that in the mail and I played it, oh my God, I couldn't stop laughing.
That was totally some Darkness No Parent stuff going on there. I dig it.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So the email came through, and I'm sorry, that intro was from listener. What is your name? Hector Visayo? Or Viseo? Hector Viseo. Hector, thank you for sending that in to the contest. But Hector sent it through email, and I saw that we got an entry. I'm like, oh, great, we have an entry. And then I immediately get a text message from Wes Davenport. And Wes Davenport is the wizard behind the curtain of Holy BatCast. He helps us run a bunch of the behind-the-scenes stuff, website, and things like that. He's the unsung hero of this show. Wes, you're awesome. But Wes just sends me a text that says, oh my God, that entry you just got for the Wayne Manor mailbox. And I was like, why? What? I haven't listened to it yet. And he goes, well, it's well done. It's just an interesting style. And so I'm like, well, crap, now I have to listen. And I listened, and I just laughed for 10 minutes straight.
All I could hear is Wes clearing his throat before he mentions this to you. Wow. Wow.
It's so good.
I like it. I really like it.
It's so awesome and insane. I love it. Hector, dude, that's amazing.
Well done, Hector. I dig that.
Oh, it's so me, obviously.
Well, we know you're a big fan of the thrash metal, so.
You know, that's what I listen to as I go to sleep.
I mean, when Sepultura opens up for Hanson, you're in heaven.
Obviously. But Hector, well done. So, folks, yeah, we are still running this contest for the Wayne Manor mailbox. If you have an idea for an intro, whether you write your own song, whether you write a rap, we got one of those. We'll have to listen to that soon. Whether you just want to edit together something from pre-existing materials, whatever you want to do, send those to Holy BatCast at RF4RM and make sure you note it as Wayne Manor Mailbox Contest. We're giving away a prize pack. So, Jamie, did you see the cool stuff I'm giving away?
I did. And I told you I want to enter because I want the pencils and the scissors.
Well, those are good. So I'm giving away a Blu-ray of Justice League versus Teen Titans,
Good
a
movie.
Funko Pop of Batman from Batman the Animated Series, and the collected edition of Batman Court of Owls.
These are good prizes.
And all of them could be yours if your selection is chosen as the winner for the Wayne Manor Mailbox Contest. So please send those in. You've got till the end of March. Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. And again, Hector, well done. And just for bringing that much joy and laughter into my life on a random Sunday morning, kudos to you. I love it. Now let's see what these emails actually say. Now that we've gotten past all that fun stuff. Here we go. All right, here we go. This is our old pal Mark Jurasevic. It says, "Hey, Andy and Jamie. Thanks for the excellent review of The Untold Legend of the Batman. A great listen and a great story. These and other stories from this era really shaped my love and appreciation for comic book reading. It has also been great hearing your appreciation for Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. Garcia Lopez, along with Aparo, Perez, Byrne, Buckler, and Adams shaped my opinion of the classic interpretation of most, if not all, of my favorite superheroes. One of my personal favorites is DC Special Series number 29, Batman vs. the Incredible Hulk, 1981, by Len Wein and Garcia Lopez. The Batman and Hulk team-up is fantastic, but not as brilliant as the way Batman takes out the Hulk in their initial encounter. All characters, especially Batman and the Joker, are rendered beautifully. I'd like your thoughts on this if you've read it. If not, please do, and you could review it. Thanks again for listening. Bat regards, Mark L." Mark, thank you so much. I'm glad you liked The Untold Legend of the Batman. We did too. That was super fun. Batman versus the Incredible Hulk, Jamie. Have you ever read it?
I have not. In fact, I wasn't even aware this existed, but goodness, now I think I'm going to have to hunt it down.
I knew it existed. I can picture the cover right now because I know I've seen that cover many times over the years, but no, I've never read it either. So yeah, that's one we'll have to dig up and we can review on the show. But knowing that it is Garcia Lopez doing the art and Len Wein writing, sounds amazing to me.
I'm all for it. The only DC Special Series comic book that I own is DC Special Series number 21. And do you know what's significant about DC Special Series number 21?
Is that Muhammad Ali?
No. First things first, it's a holiday special, so I can't believe you don't own a copy.
Oh, well, you've piqued my interest.
Second things second, that was the first Frank Miller Batman artwork ever done.
Oh, wow.
So I have literally bought every copy of this book that I've come across in the last probably 8 years. I have 3 of them.
Nice.
It's not an easy book to come by.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's a holiday
Very
special.
cool.
I should send you one, and we should review that for Christmas.
I mean, if you have extra copies, I'll take one off your hands.
I do. In fact, Mark Gottlieb got me my last one. So.
Oh, nice. Good dude. Cool. Next message here is from Joseph Stewart. It says, "Hey, Holy BatCast family, any prediction on when we will see Aquaman merchandise in stores?" So it comes out right before Christmas. My guess is we would see it October, November.
I was thinking like September, so I guess we're kind of on the same page.
Well, you're being more optimistic than me?
Yeah.
Are you sick?
I just want all the bath toys for it.
Ah, yeah. I want the pool toys. I want a big seahorse for the pool that I can ride.
outstanding. Or should I say outrageous?
Yes, you should. Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for them. Next message here is from Joshua Mathis. It says, hey, Andy and Jamie, have you guys considered reviewing any of the modern classic Batman stories like 10 Nights of the Beast, Dark Knight, Dark City, Venom, or Prey? Dark Knight, Dark City was always a favorite of mine, and Mignola's covers are fantastic. Speaking of which, a top 5 Batman covers episode would be pretty damn cool. Detective Comics 590. Love the podcast, Joshua Mathis. Joshua, if you remember, like, in the past 6 months, I've mentioned Dark Knight, Dark City a couple times, and then a couple of you guys have mentioned it. So I do wonder if the planets are aligning for us to do that. If I'm listening to the universe might be telling me that that's a good option. I do like that one. But yes, we are always open to reviewing any classic Batman arc. It's just a matter of picking them. So
And finding
these are
the
good
time
recommendations.
to read them in order to review them.
And there's that. But Dark Knight, Dark City is only 3 issues.
I'm not familiar with that one. I must not own it.
It's funny because I had good memories of it, and I gave it a shout out on this because it's a Riddler arc. And I gave it a shout out on this show, and then a few people were like, oh, yeah, I love that one. And then I went and rebought it digitally, reread it, and it's a little weird, but it's still pretty damn cool.
Who wrote it?
And I think it'd be fun. I don't remember.
Okay.
If only I had something called Google to help me with such things.
Venom. I think I have a copy of Venom somewhere. What was the first one again?
10
Nights of the Beast. That's KG Beast. I do not have that because I remember for whatever reason I was collecting at the time, and that story, I can't explain to you why, I couldn't find any of the issues for it. Like it was like the hottest thing in the world for that time, and I don't remember why, and I think it fizzled out as quickly as it came. So I don't know why, but I don't think I have any of those anywhere. And even if I did, they're somewhere in the landfill because they got flooded.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So Dark Knight, Dark City, there's a collected edition. It was written by Peter Milligan and art by Kieran Dwyer.
I am not familiar with either of those names, but that doesn't mean they aren't good.
Yeah. Cool. But Joshua, thank you for the recommendations. We will keep them in mind. As for top 5 Batman covers, that's
Batman 400's on my list, I can tell you that.
That's a tough one, man.
Do you know Batman 400?
Not just by the number. Maybe if I saw the cover.
That's the one with I don't even know how to describe it. It's like it's a really surreal looking picture of Batman, and of course it's an anniversary issue. It's a double size. It's got a foreword by Stephen King in it. It's really cool. It's a really weird looking rendition of Batman, but it's really cool looking. It's always been one of my favorite covers since it first came out.
Huh. Nice. Cool. I go Batman 500 with Azrael Batman.
And also, even though it's not technically a Batman cover, Action Comics Annual #1, I really dig that. That's the one where Batman and Superman fight vampires.
Ooh, I like that.
You should go find that. We should do that for Halloween this year. All
right. I'm down. Cool. Next message here is from... it doesn't have a name. Valor1334 is the name on the email, but no actual name. It says, hey guys, quick comment from your last episode about the Untold Legends of the Batman. It's actually available in Tales of the Batman Len Wein collection on Comixology and in physical format on Amazon. By the way, I loved episode... I know. And it's funny, as once we published that episode, quite a few people said, oh, it's actually in this Len Wein collection, but it's not its own thing. So that was good to know. By the way, absolutely loved episode 144 with Mark Hughes. Insanely in-depth stuff. How great would it be if you could get Zack Snyder on your show? Great. It would be very great. Take care, guys.
Being speechless for 2 hours.
I know. Well, I mean, maybe he's still on break and we can get him.
Put in the word, man. I'd love to hear that.
We love his outfits. So anyway, no real questions, just a good heads up. That's thank you so much, Valor1334. Sorry I don't know your name, but glad you're liking the show, and thanks for the helpful hint for anybody who did listen to Untold Legend of the Batman and wants to find it. You can go check out that Len Wein collection, and maybe that's the best way to get it right now. The other thing about that episode is I put in a song for the intro, and people were like, "What the hell is that song?"
That freaking thing was amazing. Oh, I can't believe I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, and that is from the audio tapes that you could get of that story. So, yeah.
That's better than Night Begins to Shine, and I literally mean that.
It's something else.
Right
all
now,
right, next
Jay Yaws is throwing something at me right now. I guarantee it.
Well, I'll leave that between the two of you.
All right.
Next message is from Elder Murray. It says, "Hey, Andy and Jamie and the entire Holy BatCast family. With Ocean Master being the main villain and Black Manta being secondary in Aquaman, will Black Manta Roll be getting revenge on Arthur for murdering his father, Jesse Kane, like in the comics?" Jamie, thoughts?
Sure.
Great.
I don't know, but it sounds reasonable to me.
I mean, yeah, quite possibly. I like the idea, though, of Ocean Master being the main villain and Black Manta being secondary, because then Black Manta can take the forefront in the sequel, and we can get even more of him.
Assuming he doesn't get chewed up by a shark at the end.
But if anyone could survive.
Fair point.
All right. Next message here. From Kenny Cook. It says, "Hey, Andy and Jamie and the rest of the Holy BatCast family. Finally, a message to the Wayne Manor mailbox I didn't send through Facebook. Anyway, what would you guys think about doing a review of Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths? Not only does Batman play a pivotal role in the movie, but he was also voiced by William Baldwin, which I thought was a very interesting choice and very outside the box. Is he the greatest? No, but he's definitely passable, and maybe with a few more cracks at it, he may have improved. But the movie also has my favorite showdown in animated movies in the climactic fight between Batman and Owlman. I think it's definitely something you guys could really sink your teeth into. As always, thanks for the time, guys. Keep up the great bat work, Kenny." Thanks, Kenny. Thank you for the message. Yeah. Eventually, I feel like we're going to go back and do all of them. It's just a matter of finding the right time to do them. But I agree with you. It is definitely Batman-y enough for us to do on the show.
Yeah, you said Crisis on Infinite Earths, and my panic button went off because I didn't realize you were talking about the movie.
Yeah, Crisis on Two Earths, right?
Yeah, because the Crisis on Infinite Earths, I got to be honest with you, I came way late to that one, and I don't really carry the fandom for it that a lot of people do, and I'm sure I'm going to get a Molotov cocktail in my face tomorrow morning for that, but yeah, I can do without reading that one again.
Okay.
But yeah, the movie, I dig the movie a lot, and James Woods' Owlman was fantastic.
I agree. So, yeah, I love the idea. All right, I think this might be the last message. This comes from Jack Ford. It says, "Hey, I listened to your podcast on my way to work, and I've been listening to a lot of back episodes. I was wondering if you had done an episode on Batman fan films. I'm a big fan of them, as I think they often stay closer to the source material. I think my favorites are The Dark Knight Returns by Wyatt Weed and Demon in the Dark, which is just brilliant. I don't know if you're keen on fan films, but if you could recommend any, I'd be grateful. Anyway, keep up the good work. I love the podcast. Kind regards, Jack." Jack, thank you for the message. We discussed it briefly in the past, just kind of, we've seen some of them. We don't necessarily seek them out regularly, but when one takes off, like Batman versus Darth Vader, we kind of have to watch it then. So I've seen quite a few, but now there's just so many that I don't keep up with them all. But I mean, it's not a bad idea of just maybe picking 5 or something and talking about them on the show. I think that would be fun. Jamie, thoughts?
Yeah, I don't have any objection to it. They're not something I readily seek out, but periodically somebody sends me one and they're like, "Hey, you should check this out." For a while, is it Superhero Showdown? Is that who did the one with Vader and Batman? And they've done a ton of other ones, like they did, Batman versus Deadpool, and I mean, they always seem to do one like every month or so. They put one out, and it's not always Batman, of course. It's just they pick 2 superheroes and let them go in.
Right. Yeah, I know I saw Wolverine versus Wonder Woman. I feel like
I saw Wolverine versus Batman. That was the last one I watched because it pissed me off.
I don't think I saw that one.
Don't.
Okay. As for others that you would that I'd recommend, I mean, these are old ones because I haven't kept up, but there's one out there called Grayson that I really liked. It was just a trailer, but it was like a trailer for Dick Grayson in the future, Batman's dead, and it was super cool. I just remember really liking that. There was an old World's Finest fake trailer that I really liked back in the day. I did like Batman versus Darth Vader until the end, but apparently there's another version that ends better.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I mean, those are the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. Again, I don't keep up with them.
I love that Batman versus Vader one. I really do. I mean,
It's
first of all,
so cool.
they're two
Yeah.
characters I really have loved since, I could walk. But like the reasoning for for Batman being on the Death Star was great, and the fight itself I thought was cool. And then the fact that they did come up with the two different endings to kind of appease both fan bases, because apparently what they do is the winner of the fight is who got the most votes. So they let their fans vote on who should win the fight, and then they film it that way. And they caught all kinds of hell for how they ended that one. So they went back and shot another ending for it.
Never let the fans vote. The fans know nothing. But I'll have to seek out the better ending. But I liked that one too. I dug it. Anyway, that's it for the Wayne Manor mailbox, guys. Thank you so much for sending those in. If you've got a question for us, you can send that to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. Please and thank you. Thank you to everybody who does chime in and does interact with us and talk with us about this stuff on the show. We do appreciate it. Also, a huge thank you to everybody who has left us an iTunes review. We're very grateful of that too. It is a simple and quick thing you can do to help support the show, and we appreciate it. So if you haven't done it, it's super easy to do. But if you have, maybe you've done it recently, which means I'm going to read it now, because if you guys go to the trouble of leaving the review, the least we can do is read them. We're up to 241, Jamie.
That seems like a lot.
It to me it does. But this latest one we got says, I love Holy BatCast by David R. Jameson. It says, I found Holy BatCast while listening to the Suicide Squad cast crossover of Batman Begins, and I'm so happy I did. The Bat Brothers, Andy and Jamie, are truly awesome guys, and I often find myself laughing out loud as they chat about the stuff that we all love. The show is super entertaining and definitely an awesome place to celebrate all things DC, which is awesome because it's harder to find these days. It's harder to find these days, it seems. This is easily one of my favorite podcasts, and I feel like I found a little community in these people, even though I hardly communicate online. I'm in the process of becoming a comic book artist. It is my dream to work for DC, and college has been keeping me very busy. I absolutely love listening to the show as I work, drive, or just while I'm chilling. This is an excellent podcast with entertaining hosts, awesome guests, all with a very positive outlook, which I always appreciate. Thank you guys, David.
Nice.
Thank you, David.
Best of luck in that artistry thing, man. That's a cool endeavor there.
Yeah, keep on drawing, brother. Would love to see some of your stuff, but thank you for listening, and thank you for leaving a review. But there you go. There is the next episode of Holy BatCast, Jamie. Always a pleasure, always fun.
It is. I enjoyed that. I like Justice League.
Hell yeah, brother. Me too. So if folks aren't keeping up with you, but they want to keep up with you, where can they keep up with you?
You can keep up with me on Twitter at BatRaider3960. But be forewarned, I'm doing a lot of discussion about Thanos right now. So if you're mostly DC, you probably don't want to read what I'm saying.
Cool, do that. I already told you where to find me. You already know where to find the show, I hope. If you don't, follow the show all over social media as Holy BatCast. We couldn't make it easier. Thank you for downloading the show. Please leave us a review, as I said earlier, and please subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. It is also another thing you can do to help us out. When you subscribe, the more subscriptions we get, the higher we get bumped up in searches, and more people can find us. And that's what's important, to expand the BatCast family. And then, as Michael Keaton's Batman likes to say, I want you to tell all your friends about me. Make sure you visit holybatcast.com, and if you have any thoughts, feedback, questions, etc., send those to holybatcast at rf4rm.com. But that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us. On behalf of Jamie, I've been your host, Andy DeGenova. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Holy BatCast is brought to you by real fans for real movies. Remember, the thoughts and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone, and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
I'm assuming you're Alfred.
Master Kent. You said you'd come. Now let's hope you're not too late.